Hello everyone, it's Foo here, and after some very exciting news about the upcoming Pokemon Sword and Shield DLC, the hidden abilities of the starter Pokemon are now released. So we now have Grassy Surge Rillaboom, which is definitely a big improvement for that Pokemon. We've got Sniper Inteleon, which is kind of more situational but can lead to some fun meme sets. And then we have Libero Cinderace, which is pretty game changing. Libero is like Protean, it changes your type depending on the move you use, and that means that all your attacks will have same type attack bonus, doing more damage, and that's so powerful. We saw Greninja being a huge threat, and this thing actually has a higher attacking stat than Greninja, so I really think that Cinderace is going to rocket to be one of the most viable Pokemon in any format. It's just going to be so good. But I like playing around with abilities, and I wanted to see if there was any way to transfer Libero onto other Pokemon to see if they could be even better than Cinderace with this ability. And that's how I came up with this Libero Escavalier team, which is super fun and I can't wait to show you. And I thought the best way to do that would be in some battles. So let the fun begin. In this first battle, I'm going to lead with Cinderace and Runerigus, which is kind of the go-to lead because that's how the magic happens. The opponent leads with Toxtricity and Milotic, which is pretty cool. The Toxtricity actually outspeeds my Cinderace, which definitely confirms its Choice Scarf. It shouldn't be outspeeding, but that's fine, it's whatever. They bring in their Intimidate Incineroar, which actually kind of helps out, because what's going to happen here is I'm going to U-turn into my own Runerigus, turning into a bug type with Libero, but also swapping abilities because Runerigus has the Wandering Spirit ability, which swaps abilities when you make contact. So now my Runerigus has the Libero ability. It's only taken a little bit of damage because of the Intimidate, and I can bring in my Escavalier pretty much for free. I mean, the Milotic goes for an Icy Wind, which doesn't do too much damage to either of my Pokemon, lowers their speed, but my Runerigus is going for Trick Room, so that again kind of helps me out, which is fantastic. So yeah, Runerigus goes for Trick Room. Runerigus turns into a Psychic type, which is kind of by the by. I don't really mind what type my Runerigus is, it's just a bulky Pokemon to support there. And then this turn, you'll see that what I'm trying to do is make a Libero Escavalier, because Escavalier has some crazy coverage that I think makes it a super good Pokemon for the Libero move, and it's a Pokemon that probably suffers a lot from its 4x weakness to Fire type. But with Libero, obviously you can change your type, so it's not that big a deal. And you're definitely going to see how that works out here and why I think Escavalier is such a cool Libero candidate. So I go for a Razor Shell, and I get the water typing, which changes my 4x fire weakness into a resistance. So the opponent's just Dynamaxed their Incineroar to go for a max flare, and it's gonna do like, it does some damage, but not very much at all. They basically wasted an entire turn of their Dynamax, which is so good. I get some really nice damage on there. I would have Dynamaxed my Escavalier, but unfortunately you can't skill swap onto a Dynamax Pokemon, so I have to wait one turn, just go for a regular attack before I can Dynamax. The opponent also set up the Sun before going for a Scald with their Milotic, so obviously that didn't do much damage at all to my Runerigus. So now I can Dynamax my Escavalier. I'm actually just going to try to target down the Incineroar again. It's got the Sun up, so that means my water type attacks won't be doing too much damage. So I actually go for a Nightshade with Runerigus as well, just to get a bit more damage on, and hopefully I'll be able to take it out with whatever I want the next turn. So we go for the Max Geyser. We can set up the Rain, making any fire types completely useless, and keeping that water typing, which is actually doing a lot right now. I mean, Milotic can't do much to water types, and Incineroar can't do too much either. It does go for a Max Darkness, which is going to do some decent damage, not too much though, and it is going to drop the special defense, but my Escavalier is Assault Vest and my Runerigus is max special defense, so we're not wanting for special bulk. You can see here that the Scald does pretty much nothing even after the special defense drop, so that's not a big deal. And now, because of the pressure that Escavalier is exerting, the opponent actually wastes their last turn of Dynamax because we're in Trick Room, and switches out into their Bravery. Now this is kind of unfortunate. I make it like a really cool tricksy play here. I swap out my ability Overcoat for competitive, because what I wanted to do was go for a max Flutterby into the Incineroar, which unfortunately switched out to a Bravery, which takes them Flutterby a lot better. But I wanted to skill swap just so that Milotic gets a special attack drop and doesn't activate competitive to get an increase instead. But obviously Bravery gets a Defiant boost, so it gets +2 attack. I really didn't see that swap coming, which is really annoying. Otherwise I'd have gone for like a Steel Spike or something. But whatever, we actually still do crazy damage to the Bravery, and it does mean that we're able to hang on with the Escavalier, because if I hadn't got that special attack drop on the Milotic, it might not have survived the Scald. The opponent wastes the last turn of Trick Room with double Protect, which is kind of annoying. I go for a Steel Spike into the Bravery just to turn into a Steel type, which is good for kind of taking on Brave Birds and stuff, but Escavalier is such low HP that it probably will faint to anything now. And we do okay damage through the Protect, but Bravery is still looking like a massive threat, and Trick Room is about to run out, so I'm kind of thinking I might be looking at a double KO here, which would be pretty bad. What's cool about this team though is we've got a U-turn Cinderace, so we've still got a Libero Cinderace in the back, which is always a threat. So that's really nice about this team, that it's not just random support Pokemon to make something work, it's actually like really good Pokemon. So Close Combat comes out, +2 attack, that's definitely going to take out Steel type Escavalier, and the opponent's Milotic is going to go for a Scald into Runerigus. Obviously we're Psychic type, so it's not super effective, and after the special attack drop from Flutterby, it doesn't take out my Runerigus, which is so good. That Flutterby play was actually really quite useful, because the Milotic's really done not very much at all this match. It's gone for Icy Winds, which are useless, and its damage output just hasn't been there, even in the rain. I bring out my Dragapult, because now Trick Room's run out. I could go for a Dragon Darts and potentially take out both of the opposing Pokemon. No, Milotic's on too much health at the moment. Because the Bravery protects, I get 2 hits into it, so it's really low health now, which is so good for me. The Icy Wind comes out, which is a really good play by my opponent because it's spread damage, so they managed to take out my Runerigus as well as get some damage on my Dragapult. It's not going to drop speed though because I have Clear Body, so that's pretty good. So now I bring out my last Pokemon, which is my Cinderace, which is very good, and it's good timing because the rain has just run out, so I can still go for some fire type moves if I want to. But here I definitely want to go for Dragon Darts. It would be able to probably take out both opponents. The Milotic does go for Protect though, so I'll have to settle with just taking out the Bravery for now. And I think I go for a U-turn with my Cinderace just because it's like the most accurate move it has. I've got Pyro Ball and High Jump Kick. Definitely don't want a High Jump Kick into a Protect here. And then I've got Sucker Punch, but if the Milotic was going for a Recover, for example, I didn't want to be going for a Sucker Punch, so U-turn was kind of the safest move there. And then the last Pokemon is the Incineroar, which we've already seen, which is able to intimidate Cinderace, but again, Clear Body will block the drop on Dragapult. That's not the last Pokemon, is it? I'm able to go for a Dragon Darts to take out the Incineroar. Unfortunately, they do have the Fake Out Pressure to stop Cinderace from doing anything, but fortunately the Dragon Darts is actually able to take out the Milotic, which I didn't think it would be able to do. The opponent still has a Toxtricity, which I forgot about, but that's okay because we've still got 2 Pokemon against their 1 Pokemon, and because I have Sucker Punch with Cinderace, despite the Toxtricity we already know outspeeding Cinderace, I can get some chip damage on that, which puts it in range of Dragapult's Dragon Darts. Dragapult does still outspeed because Toxtricity isn't even with the Choice Scarf, isn't faster. So that's very good, and I thought this first game was great in showing how cool Libero Escavalier is. Being able to resist those fire type moves is so cool, and it has massive damage output. The Steel Spikes still do tons of damage and raise defense, so I love this Pokemon as a Libero Pokemon. I thought that battle was pretty great, but we've got another battle for you guys. Oh yes, 2 for 1, you guys deserve it. And this battle is going up against the very threatening Tyranitar Excadrill lead, so this on paper would be a really bad lead. By the way, do you like my Pride trainer card? I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, obviously Cinderace hates rock types and ground types, so Tyranitar Excadrill is very threatening, and Runerigus doesn't like the dark type on Tyranitar either. But I have thought about this when I was preparing the team, and so the Pokemon have the items they need to be able to survive. So I'm going to lead with the same Pokemon and kind of try to do the same setup, although obviously with Sand and Tyranitar having a Focus Sash on Cinderace, it's a bit touch and go, because if Cinderace doesn't get out of their first turn, Sand will take it out, so that's not ideal. And obviously Excadrill outspeeds Cinderace in the sand with the sand rush, so not a great matchup, but I'm hoping that we can pull something out of this. So you see here, Excadrill goes for Stomping Tantrum, presumably because they want a more accurate move than Drill Run or High Horsepower. But with the Focus Sash, it wouldn't make a difference which one they used because it takes me down to 1 HP. But I do go for the U-turn again, get that Wandering Spirit ability swap and have Libero on my Runerigus. I can bring in my Escavalier. I'm predicting that the Tyranitar wants to attack Runerigus, and we see that is the case, but I have the Colbur Berry for the dark type attacks. So that is how I'm able to ensure that I still get up the Trick Room, and Trick Room neuters Tyranitar Excadrill leads quite significantly because they've obviously got the extremely fast Excadrill, one of the fastest things in the format. And with my Trick Room Pokemon, they both are faster than Tyranitar in Trick Room. So that's okay, but we've still got a bit more setup to do. So we're definitely going to go for the skill swap before my Runerigus faints to any other attack. And that gives Libero to Escavalier, and then Escavalier, I can go for the Razor Shell onto the Excadrill. I thought this would be very important because Excadrill hasn't shown a Life Orb, so it's a likely Focus Sash, and that is what we see to be the case here. So Excadrill is going to hang on, and the opposing Tyranitar is going for Darkness, which is actually into the Runerigus, which is fine. It takes it out. The only slight issue is that Escavalier now has -2 special defense, so despite it having the Assault Vest, special attacks will start to be doing more and more damage, and it's already taken some damage because you see here the opponent goes for Stomping Tantrum, so it's taken some damage now, although it is just very, very bulky. It's a really fun Pokemon to use in Trick Room. Now I bring out my Togekiss because I've only got the 1 HP Cinderace in the back, which is not great in a sand kind of environment. That's not going to work very well, but both opposing Pokemon also threaten Togekiss significantly. So what I'm going to do here is go for a Steel Spike and hope that Togekiss can then maybe take a non-Life Orb Iron Head if I get the defense boost. But I'm going to target into the Tyranitar because I need to start getting damage on that thing. It's still way too healthy. The Excadrill actually protects it, which I did not see coming. But that's fine because it just means that one less attack coming my way. That's pretty good. So we can get the Steel Spike off into T-Tar. I'm hoping to get the Dazzling Gleam off because that will do some good damage to T-Tar and also take out the Excadrill, although it's protected this turn, so that didn't quite work out. But unfortunately we see that it does have the weakness policy, which is very predictable. There wasn't really much I could do to play around that. And it actually just goes for a Rockfall into the Togekiss, which still faints, even though it's relatively bulky, but it's also quite fast, so it could be bulkier. Maybe if it did have a different EV spread, it would have been able to live that. So now I have to rely on my 1 HP Cinderace and my -2 special defense, very much damaged Escavalier against 4 Pokemon on the opposing side, so that's not great. But one great thing about Max Escavalier is I can go for the Max Geyser to set up the rain, meaning that my Cinderace won't faint to sand at the end of the turn. That is so crucial. It also means that my Escavalier is water type, which is not necessarily a bad typing to have. It's pretty good defensively. And I should have gone for Sucker Punch with my Cinderace here, but I forgot that changing the weather to from sand to rain would mean that Excadrill would then go before Cinderace in Trick Room. So that was a misplay, but it worked out because they were just targeting my Escavalier, presumably realizing that they need to get damage on it. So we've got 1 turn of Trick Room left. I'm thinking that the opponent might go for a double protect, but we're now 2-2, so we're not out of the game yet. We're not out of the game yet, despite one of my Pokemon only having 1 HP. No protects come from the opponent. I go for the Steel Spike into the Sylveon, thinking that because I'm a -2 special defense, it's probably worth taking that out, getting another defense boost to take on the Dragapult a bit better. Yeah, and it might have been Choice Spec, so it was less likely to carry Protect anyway, so that's why I went for that. I also went Pyro Ball instead of Sucker Punch here, because I was worried that maybe it could be Berry or something random like that. And Pyro Ball at least does some damage to both Pokemon, unlike Sucker Punch. So the opponent does hang on, is able to go for the Dragon Claw, take out the Cinderace. But now things have evened out a lot more than I thought. I was down 2-4, and now it's 1-1. We're both about the same HP, but I've got +2 defense, and the opposing Dragapult doesn't seem to have Fire-type moves, so they're going for Phantom Force as I go for Knock Off, turn into the Dark-type, so when they come out of the Shadow Realm, I'm going to resist the attack because I've already changed to a Dark-type. So this shows how Libero Escavalier takes on Dragapult pretty well, and that's a really, really fun battle. So I definitely wanted to show you that one. I thought that was a really, really cool way to showcase how the Libero Escavalier takes on things like Dragapult really well in Trick Room, as well as things like fire types that would usually threaten it. You've got the water typing, so it works so well, and that's why I chose it as a candidate for this team. But you can obviously do this with loads of other Pokemon that could benefit from Libero. You can even do it with fast Pokemon. You don't have to use the Trick Room strategy. For example, you can U-turn Cinderace into Dragapult and skill swap with Runerigus on the first turn instead of going for Trick Room. And Dragapult can then go for Max Steel Spike to turn into a Steel type that would resist Fairy and Ice type moves that it's usually weak to. You can go for Stab Max Airstream that does tons of damage and boosts your speed. So all of these things make Dragapult a really cool recipient of Libero too. There are so many other Pokemon, but I just thought Escavalier was a good showcase because you never really see it that much, yet it's a really, really good Pokemon. It just appreciates having workarounds for the fire weakness, which you can do with Libero now. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really liked making it. I love the potential that Libero has given us, and loads of meme teams can come out of that. Let me know if you try it with any other Pokemon in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe for more content. It really helps out the channel, and it lets me know what you want to see more of. But that's all from me for today. I've been foofootoo, you've been awesome, and hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.